Hello and welcome to the training log for the weeks of May 8th and May 15th, 2023. I didn't get around to recording one of these last week. I was busy and kind of forgot about it, so I will cover the last 2 weeks this week. I've been training largely the same way I have the last few weeks in regards to the shoulder injury. It keeps getting better. I'm getting very close to full strength, or a good portion of full strength on some movements. Other movements are lagging behind. There doesn't seem to be a ton of rhyme or reason. Maybe if I had a greater anatomical understanding and the full details of the injury, I'd be able to guess why certain movements are feeling better, but horizontal pressing is getting very close, or getting pretty close to full strength. Downward pulling is pretty good. Horizontal pulling is still a bit weird, is it pinching in certain range of motion. Overhead pressing is not really good at all, but that was to be expected. So I'm just kind of taking each movement as I can and pushing whatever I can without pain or significant discomfort. One thing I'm finding now is it's kind of hard to tell which movements are limited because there is a perceived pain or a hesitance or some kind of structural limitation, and which ones are limited just because they've been essentially not trained very heavily for almost a month and a half now, I guess over a month and a half now. So it's kind of a mental challenge to figure out why a movement's weaker and if it's responsible to try and push it harder. I have to kind of take each one by ear, and I'm probably not always right, but it's just something I've been thinking a lot about, that there's always a lot that can go into an injury, a perceived injury, and that you really got to look at the actual situation when making decisions about it. I really appreciate that I still have a membership at a commercial gym. Shout out to Madtown Fitness. Right now with the injury rehab, because I found that machines are just so good about working things around the injury, assuming I pick the right machine. For instance, this is the new Viking press machine they got. It's a unilateral press, so I can load each side differently to accommodate my weaker right shoulder. And just the angle of this press and how the load is on my shoulders is so much more comfortable, and I can push so much more weight than I can with, say, a free weight barbell press. So it's a big tool I'm using for my rehab, and I'm really glad I have it. I'm still plugging away at the training for the strongman meet in about 6 weeks now. I feel like I have a pretty good handle on most of the events. I'm pretty confident at this point that there's no way I'm going to hit the press, so I'm probably not even going to attempt it. I'll just have to walk off and wave off the attempt right away. But the squat is picking up. I think I mentioned maybe 2 weeks ago that I went back and read the full rules, and there is an up and a down command. So there's not really a chance to do full touch and go, which I don't really like that ruling. I'm sure I complained about the ruling in an earlier video too, but this is just a very lightweight, and you're not even starting underneath the bar, so the setup pick takes extra time, and there's only 60 seconds, so any reasonably strong person is going to be able to squat 480 pounds for the full 60 seconds, particularly in the super heavyweight open class. So it just feels like the winner is going to be decided by whoever has the judge that is the fastest on the up and down commands and the most generous with them. And that just kind of strikes me wrong. I would prefer if they either didn't have the commands, whoever got the most efficient touch and go or the quickest rep scheme would win, or maybe a higher weight so that you weren't going the whole time. It really was about who could lift the most, but maybe I'm just complaining because they took away my precious deadlift and they put in a squat. Aside from that, the yoke run into sled pull is feeling really good. The yoke just feels pretty light when I'm running. Granted, again, it is a very lightweight, particularly for my weight class, but I feel like I'm moving pretty fast with it, a little bit faster every time. It's not very fatiguing. It's just, I gotta keep playing with the foot pattern and the step cadence and try and just get that yoke run a little faster, because I don't think I can speed up the sled. There's really not any technique to the sled. It's just kind of a extra add-on to the event to, I don't know, make it longer. It just seems kind of tacked on after the yoke run. On the farmer's walk, I still cannot hold on to the full 75 seconds. It's particularly those turns that really just kind of wrench the handles out of my grip. I'm hoping that when I actually get to the competition, it'll be a little bit easier because it is a longer track, so it's 75 feet versus about 50 feet in my driveway. So there'll be less overall turns, which means more time just walking straight, which is the easy part. So maybe that'll help me get a longer distance and hold on for the full 75 seconds. But we'll see. I mean, I don't think I have necessarily the best technique for this kind of farmer's walk movement. For a heavier one where it's just straight up and down with a drop at the end, I'm pretty good at that, but this might just not be as much in my wheelhouse, so we'll see how I do on it. And in general, I'm not expecting to win this year, particularly with the injury, and just I haven't really been totally focused on this. It's just a fun thing to do. It's not a huge training priority, and I've been just a bit distracted in general. So I'll do as best I can. If I can podium, that'd be really cool, but it's just something I think would be fun to do. I'm not worried about winning and going to nationals, so I wouldn't drive that far anyways. I don't have any videos of bags because it's not really that interesting to watch, but I'm trying to get down a single swing movement to get the bag up to 15 feet, particularly if at the heaviest weight. I feel like if I can do that, that'll shave off like the second or two you need to win this competition, because once again, it's pretty lightweight, so it's all about speed and efficiency. And last, I have some log overhead press. This isn't really training for the event because it's way below the competition weight, and I'm not going to hit it in 6 weeks. It's just not going to happen. So this is 135 pounds, which is more of just a rehab thing, coming back to getting some weight on that shoulder and trying to work on the stability. It's kind of frustrating to overhead press right now because my right shoulder can't properly lock out. I don't know if it's a structural damage, just general weakness from disuse, or if I've lost some mobility, or maybe I'm just afraid to use it, but it's getting in the way right now and it's annoying, but it's just something I have to work through. So 2 weeks ago, I also decided to try the hat-filled squats again. This would have been about 6 weeks after dislocating my shoulder, doing the hat-filled squats. I lowered the handles, and I didn't quite make it up to my goal of 1,000 pounds. Just wasn't a good day for it, and also this happened on a 900-something pound attempt. I forgot to put a collar on, and with that not super stable Mars bar with the padding, it went ahead and dumped all the weights on one side and catapulted the bar up into my ceiling. So don't forget your clips, they're important, especially on a heavy lift. So this next deadlift isn't really so much about deadlift itself, it's just kind of more about more mindset training. This day I wanted to start off doing an AMRAP at 8 plates conventional, and that just didn't happen. Then I tried that at Jefferson, and I couldn't even get the 1 rep. I wanted to also do an AMRAP, and eventually I settled that this crisscrossed over Jefferson, and I managed to get just a single rep at 765. And there's probably a lot of reasons why I couldn't get the AMRAPs I wanted. I still had a little bit of a back tweak, which probably left me nervous about my back. I had done a heavy leg day the day before, and I was just like I said, I've been out of it for a while now. So I just had to accept that I couldn't do what I wanted to do and find something I could do. And that's kind of all you can really do when you're not having a good day in the gym. I also finally got around to trying this, which I wanted to do for a while now, but I knew I had to do it outside because it's definitely a clearance issue inside. So this lift was a lot of time spent troubleshooting the actual setup. There was a lot of iterations, and it really is hard just kind of getting into the unrack point. Once it's all balanced like that, doing the reps is not that difficult, but getting it to that point is definitely a challenge, and was probably the main limitation for weight. I feel like with a lift off or a spotter, you could probably do a lot more with weight on this lift. I also have the True Spider Squat, which is a dual spider bar squat. Considering I might be the only person with 2 spider bars, because that's frankly insane, I decided I needed to try and squat both of them so I could have all 8 legs in one squat. This was another lift that had a lot of trial and error, and that has a setup that's much more difficult than the actual squat, between getting the first bar up onto my shoulders and then over onto the one shoulder, and then trying to rack the two when you've got plates bumping into each other. It's just a lot of time spent under weights that is unstable and asymmetrical that really tires you out before you get to the actual squat. So I'm sure with 2 yokes, I could unrack both and just get right into the squat. I could probably do a lot more than 440, but I like that it's more of a complex than just a squat rep. So yeah, that's where I've been the last 2 weeks. I can't say it's my most productive and enjoyable period of lifting, but sometimes you just gotta work with the cards that you're dealt and do the best you can. That's all I've got for this week, and I will see you all real soon.